Hi, everyone. This is Katie with Empowering Astrology, and this is your weekly look at the astrology of November 11th through November 17th, 2019. So, this is your look at what's coming up this week. We have this weekly check-in with the astrology, and if you're new to my work, it's always a great time to reintroduce myself. I am in New York City. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York. I am both an astrologer and a psychic medium. And the type of work that I do is I see your birth chart. So that exact moment that you were born and the chart that it creates as this map of you, this map of your life, and what is your highest potential, and how in our time together, and whether we're working one-on-one or some of the information that I provide in my horoscopes or dailies, that can help you get to your highest potential. So, if you've been following me for the past few weeks, I've been having some mic issues. I think I finally solved it. So that's why there's like this really giant poll that's listed for on the screen for those that are watching live. But it seems like the audio is doing great, which is, this has been my Mercury retrograde crutch, cross to bear, whatever metaphor you want to use. So again, my name is Katie Sweetman, and this is also my birthday week. So we're coming to the end of Scorpio season, which is, time for me to celebrate my birthday almost. Mine's Sunday. So I'm saying happy birthday to also all my fellow Scorpios out there. So before we jump into the astrology this week, I just want to mention that I'm doing an event here in Manhattan tomorrow, Tuesday, and it's sold out. So if you were unable to join me I'm doing this event on the astrology of 2020. I have gotten a few messages from people. They're like, are you going to do this for those of us who aren't in New York? And yes, of course. I am going to do a webinar on the 2nd of January. The details are not on my website yet, but do stay tuned. Join my mailing list if you aren't already, because that's where you will hear the first information about that. So don't worry, you'll still get your scoop on the astrology of 2020. There's a lot of interesting things going on next year, but a lot of Saturn and Pluto, which means that we're kind of still continuing to break down and tear down structures as we have been doing this year. So just checking in on the comments. Yes, thank you everybody for your birthday wishes. I appreciate them. And tell me how you're doing. Tell me how you're doing with this astrology. And one of the things that I put in my update today for the astrology is that I love the interplay between Taurus and Scorpio. So tomorrow, as I record this, tomorrow on Tuesday, November 12th, at, I think it's like 8 something in the morning, 8:35 a.m. Eastern here in New York, we're going to have a Taurus full moon. And the full moon is a time when we kind of see the sign that the full moon is in, kind of the archetypes in a full light. There's a need to take action. There's a need for immediacy. And we have this very interesting interplay with Taurus and Scorpio. So Scorpio season is all about honoring life in its many cycles, so that things begin, things end, things come alive, things die. I mean, here in New York City, we're in the kind of the height of autumn. The leaves are turning, and the weather is getting colder. It's actually supposed to get really cold tomorrow. So when we have something like a Taurus full moon, with the full moon happening in the sign of Taurus, it's a time to remember to kind of take pleasure in life. And that, as much as Scorpio season is about kind of this transition and these endings, it's also a time when we have to remember the things and to hold on to the things, Taurus, that nourish us and give us life and help us to feel stable, grounded, and secure. So Taurus is a money sign. It's what's called the first earth sign. So right now we have to really take action on what's going to make our lives feel comfortable and grounded. My joke about Taurus is that you guys are like always grazing. You just need snacks and like comfy blanket, a nice chair. So I think that there's a time that we all have to kind of remember what's going to make us feel comfortable. I maybe, because I'm a Scorpio, I love that kind of Taurus energy. It's like good food. It's like really in the pleasure of life. So this is something to keep in mind as we go into the full moon tomorrow. What's going to make you feel rooted, grounded, and safe and stable? Maybe, you need to get your material life in order. Maybe you need to kind of gather the resources that you need for, as we start to go into the winter here in the Northern Hemisphere. Maybe you need to pay attention to your bank account, or that can obviously come in a lot of different ways. Maybe somebody is helping you to gather things or giving you resources. You're sharing, you're bartering, you're swapping. Maybe if you feel really encouraged to, let's say, make more money in your career. But Taurus, being that first earth sign, really talks about the fundamentals of life, those basics, food, shelter, money, but also these kind of intangible, but maybe also tangible things like touch and smell and taste, but also value. So it's a full moon to really think about what we value. I'm not saying that I don't necessarily value this, but I'm doing my event tomorrow, and my friend is a listing agent in New York City, and so it's in one of her penthouse apartments that she's trying to sell. So I was like, this is so perfect for the Taurus full moon: property, real estate, things that we own, things that maybe we aspire to own, if that's your jam, as they say. Just checking in on the comments. So yeah, I know it's supposed to get maybe like a little bit of snow over the next couple of days here in New York City. I'm not a fan. The other thing to keep in mind is that Venus, which is the ruler of this full moon. So Venus right now is in Sagittarius. So there's this kind of interplay that's happening with Taurus and Sagittarius with this full moon. And Venus in Sagittarius needs a lot of freedom. So let's say this full moon, it's about Taurus, about money, resource, ownership, value. But it's like we need to kind of, get some freedom. We need to get moving. Sagittarius, it's a sign of traveling and exploration. So I think that as we go into this full moon, do keep in mind, and I did mention this in today's update, now that Uranus is in Taurus, and it will be there for another 6 years, this isn't your normal Taurus full moon where we kind of gather the things that we normally want to gather because it's safe and stable and easy and secure. This is still a time when we have to really shake up what Taurus means for us. So maybe in the past we would have reached for certain things to make us feel safe, grounded, and secure. But now with the Uranus and Taurus, we have to get outside of our comfort zone. So sometimes getting outside of your comfort zone means, let's say, standing up in front of an audience, which I'll be doing tomorrow at my event. Sometimes getting out of your comfort zone means taking a risk. Maybe it means going out there into the world, Venus and Sagittarius. Maybe it means valuing something or putting time and effort and money into something that you wouldn't normally put into. So there's a part of our life over the next 6 years, and we've been seeing this over the last year, where it's not business as usual. So if you're in Aries, this is about how you earn a living, how you make money, what you own, what you value. That's, there's a spotlight with this Taurus full moon on that. If you are a Taurus, this is very much about you. And I tell all my Taurus clients, you are in the process of reinventing yourself. If we were to fast forward, and talk let's say 6 years from now, you're like, oh my gosh, the person that I was at 2019 and maybe even 2018 doesn't really exist anymore. But I think that what you're turning into, Taurus, is just really getting to the heart and the soul of who you really are and having the courage and the bravery to be able to share that. If you're a Gemini, a lot of this work, Gemini, even, you know, just as an aside, and I've said this before, I think it's been a little bit of a tough year for Gemini because there's been so much happening on a deep emotional level. So I think this full moon does speak to things that are, let's say, in your blind spot that you're not looking at about yourself. You're unconscious, maybe paying attention to your dreams. But this full moon is like, how do you break some of the things you're holding on to really tightly, almost like, you know, addictions or patterns. And it's a wonderful full moon to really let those things go, especially in regards to relationships. So anything that's really holding on to on a relationship level. Cancer, to think about that for a second. So Cancer, this full moon is happening in the part of your chart that talks about friends and community, and also this kind of bigger thing about, you know, your social circle, like who do you belong to? What are you a part of? Also the future. So you might, you know, this full moon might really kind of have you focus on the people in your life and the people that you sort of ally yourself with. So you might be making some decisions. Full moons, by the way, they kind of demand that we take action and we make decisions. Moving along to Leo. So this full moon is in your career sign, Leo, and I've had a lot of Leo clients, had a lot of Leo rising clients over the last year, and it's been the same conversation. It's like your career is changing, your professional life is changing, your direction is changing. So this full moon might put this into the spotlight a little bit more clearly, hopefully. So you know, this is a time in this very long story for you, Leo, and I say long because it's kind of happening over a 7-year time frame where you're heading in your professional life, your career, your responsibilities in a much different way. Going on to Virgo, you know, Virgo, and I kind of been painting this portrait in different, let's say, horoscopes or different discussions about what's going on. You're in this time when you need to get out of your way, is the best way to put it. And Virgo, it's like you see the world in a very particular way, and sometimes there's a lot of comfort and you're holding on to those things, but here comes Uranus, and how you see the world needs to shake up and to transform. This is a time for you, Virgo, of awakenings to, you know, different ways of being. So moving along to what comes after Virgo, Libra. So Libra, this is a time when maybe you're having to really face some parts of yourself, maybe the deepest parts of yourself. This full moon is happening in a very, let's say, emotional and psychological part of your chart. Am I safe? You know, maybe you're really thinking about these things that are deep inside of you. So really pay attention to the emotions that are coming up with this full moon, Libra, because it's really helping you to see the hidden and the deepest parts of yourself, your fears, your vulnerabilities, so that you can sort of, let's say, make some shifts, make some changes. Scorpio. So this is happening in your relationship sign, Scorpio, and over the next 6 years, do know that how you interact with people and how you connect and even how you do relationships needs to fundamentally change. So this full moon is part of a story that's going on for the next few years. And this includes all forms of relationships. So, you know, it's interesting. I'm a Scorpio, and we're doing this through Facebook Live. So this is, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be like romantic relationships, but it can just be, how do you connect one-on-one with people? And sometimes it's through the beauty of the internet and through Facebook Live. Moving along to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, this is happening in your sign of health and wellness and how you take care of your body, and how you kind of organize your work and your daily life. And do keep in mind, Sagittarius, that you're in a, 6 more years left of this, but this time when you need to reinvent your daily life. And this can include making changes in your diet, making changes in how you take care of your body. So this full moon's kind of a check up on your progress. So maybe over the last year, you've been doing things differently. Suddenly you've started running, or suddenly you started eating, something different, just to kind of be more in harmony with your body. So that's something to keep in mind. Moving on to Capricorn. Capricorn, this is in the part of your chart that talks about how you express who you are. So Capricorn, you're the other sign that's having a little bit of a rough go of it right now. And I think that as sort of the walls of your life and the structure of your life is getting torn down around you, I know, strong metaphor alert. This full moon is helping to awaken you to the real you that, Capricorn is a sign that can just gets acculturated, meaning it's told at an early age that you're supposed to do this at this age by this time, and to reach high and to have ambition. At least that's, the sign in its root. So here comes Uranus, and Uranus is like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to be a lawyer? Are you sure you want to own this? Are you sure this is who you really are? And so this full moon is really a check-in on your progress. It's a time to really express who you are and express the truth of who you are, Capricorn. Aquarius, this is happening in your, what's called the foundation and the base of your chart. So it's about home and family, but also the roots and foundation. And I've known so many Aquarius risings who have made big moves in the last year. They've moved across country, they've kind of shaken things up in their living situation. So this full moon is sort of a continuation of that story. So you may need to make a decision, Aquarius, on where you're going to live and where you're going to plant yourself and what's kind of at the foundation of your life. And then finally, Pisces, last but not least, this is happening in the part of your chart that talks about voice, how you communicate, how you express yourself, how you think and learn and talk and speak. And you're in this longer period of time where you're like, maybe how you think or even how you communicate is undergoing a reinvention. So this full moon is a check-in on that progress. I'm just going to check in on the comments, see some more birthday wishes. Thank you so much. It looks like we're also talking about snow. Yeah, Aquarius. So if you're Aquarius, I don't know if you have made some like big changes in your living situation, but do let me know. I've noticed a lot of people that have made some cross-country moves. So with those full moons, kind of activating those parts of your life, note that Venus in Sagittarius is making what's called a square to Neptune. So I think this is a full moon that we all need to, let's say, look at the illusions and look, how our projections about certain things. So, we're in that last week of Mercury retrograde, and I'm not one of those astrologers that says like your whole life has to stop during Mercury retrograde, but I think there is I think if we're trying to push ahead too hard with this full moon, just let it, wait till Mercury turns direct if you're trying to make some big decisions. And Mercury does turn direct on November 20th. So we're a week away. In fact, as I record this, we had the what's called the Sun-Mercury conjunction. And that is our sign, our signal that we're halfway through Mercury retrograde, which is our time every few months to go back and to revisit our choices and how we're, living our life and how we're going. So we're not just kind of going full speed ahead. Yeah, thank you, Marina, for the happy birthday. My friend Marina, who's on the live feed, she's going to be helping me tomorrow. She's selling crystals for her business, Terra Minerals. So we're, as I talk about the astrology of next year, we're also going to be showcasing different crystals that you can work with. And crystals are actually really great supports for these times. They help us to attune to certain energies, certain earth energies. So you've got your protection stones, you've got your stones of transmutation, things that really help you as you go through these big, let's say, transformations in your life. So I'm really excited about that. Speaking of Neptune, I was talking about the Venus-Neptune square. I'm doing a webinar on November 26th on Neptune. So if you're an astrology student, if you have a strong Neptune in your chart, this is going to be your webinar. So it's for 90 minutes. We're talking about Neptune. We're talking about Neptune in the chart. What are the different ways in which Neptune can express itself? It's a bit of an elusive planet, meaning Neptune speaks to it's very non-physical. It breaks down the let's say the bridge, the barrier, or the connection between our physical world and the non-physical world. That's why if you have a strong Neptune in your chart, you are very open, you're very psychic, maybe you channel, or you're not aware of that, but you're kind of doing it in the background, or you have problems with boundaries. So I think it's going to be a really great webinar to bring some clarity, as much as you can do for Neptune on what it's doing in the astrology. And this week with the Venus square Neptune, that aspect sometimes is a kind of all that glitters is not gold aspect. So there is that element of something that does look desirable, something that looks beautiful, Venus, Neptune is like, well, are you sure that's what it really is? But I think another way we can look at it is with Neptune and Venus is, I think Neptune ultimately wants us to be aware that we can't make selfish choices. Neptune, at its core, is a very spiritual planet. And so I think that whatever we are deciding, whatever's being illuminated with this full moon, we have to take a step back and look how there's an element of surrender to it. There's, Neptune is like, sometimes we need to get out of our way. Something's happening. There's a process that's unfolding. And certainly, as I was saying, with the full moon in Taurus, we're in the midst of a 6-year story of a particular part of our life completely reinventing. It's a part of our life that's the least likely to change, because it's Taurus. Taurus is a sign that naturally just wants to preserve the status quo. It's a wonderful instinct. We need that instinct. It's an instinct that allows life to thrive. But here we are, we have the planet of awakenings and transformation and new consciousness, and things shaking up and earthquakes coming into a sign that normally wants to keep things the same. So there's a part of your life where there's a resistance. Something has to reinvent, something has to shift, but we're having to go against the natural instincts of that part of your life. These are the parts of your life that I was just mentioning when I was going around the zodiac. So I think that little Neptune square that we have this week to Venus is a reminder that sometimes whatever's trying to come through actually might be better, but it might terrify us. It might really make us question whether or not we're safe, if this is going to work out. I think we've had to make a lot of leaps with Uranus and Taurus, and I think that was because it is Scorpio season. there's a strong emotional quality to all of this, where Scorpio is a sign that makes us face our fears. It makes us face the natural ebb and flow of life. And, will this all work out? So I think that that's one of the other layers to this Taurus full moon this week. Just checking in on the comments. Vanessa asks a really good question. She asks, how would you know if you had a strong Neptune in your chart? So number one, get a copy of your chart. You need your exact birth time. I know that, and we've discussed this on other Facebook Lives. There's many reasons why you don't have access to your birth time. If you're in the US, it's going to be on your birth certificate. When you have that exact time, it gives you a specific chart. And I'm going to say this in technical astrology speak, and then I'll kind of break it down into English. Your prominent Neptunes are going to be a first house Neptune, a 10th house Neptune, like what are called the angular houses. So Neptune on an angle, Neptune in aspect to the sun or the moon. The sun and the moon are so much about you and the vitality of you and the expression of you, and it gives life to the chart. Neptune an aspect to the chart ruler. Neptune kind of caught up in a stellium. That's like my quick answer on a technical side of things. Like, what does it mean to have a strong Neptune in your chart? When you can see your chart and be able to pick up the different notes, when you see Neptune kind of sitting on top of something, or it's on an angle, it just means that there's a part of your life that it's like there's a higher calling in that part of your life. We can't do the ego. We can't do kind of normal human level wherever Neptune is. I know this from personal experience. I have Neptune on my ascendant. I have Neptune conjunct my Mercury. I have Neptune conjunct my Mars. And ultimately, there's a long story, but you come to this point where you realize that there's these forces outside of you that you're kind of working with, and you have to come into harmony with it, and hopefully do that higher Neptune, which is the compassion, the helping people, Neptune, this need to kind of help people heal. So that's how I would answer that question. Getting more birthday wishes. Thank you very much. Very close. It's on Sunday, November 17th. Just seeing if there's any other questions. But for those who are joining me tomorrow for my event in Manhattan, I'm really excited because I think it's going to be a really cool event. It's on a Taurus full moon. We're in like beautiful real estate. I'm going to make some cookies because we have to have something sweet. It's Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is the sweetness and the pleasure of living. So food and all that, all that very Taurian things. I'm getting a marriage proposal. It seems a bit early for that. So thank you all for joining me this week for your weekly look at the astrology. Just to recap, we've got a Taurus full moon tomorrow on Tuesday, November 12th. It's happening at 19 degrees of Taurus. And of course, we have that interplay between Taurus and Scorpio. So do remember to live. That's what Taurus reminds us. In the face of Scorpio season, we have to still eat and enjoy life and to be in the physical world, Taurus. We're kind of coming up also to the end of Mercury retrograde. So just keep that in mind as you're making big decisions, that you don't have all the information right now. You have to wait until Mercury turns direct on the 20th. We're also getting to the end of Mars in Libra. That's just as an aside. Mars will go into Scorpio next week. I think that it's been a little bit of an interesting go of it as Mars has been in Libra, because it's kind of pinged some intense astrology. That's why October was a bit of a strong month. But some really interesting comments right now. But so thank you all for joining me. Do subscribe to my newsletter. I don't have the link in my show notes right now, but I will. But you can also go to my website, empoweringastrology.com. Subscribe to my newsletter. You can, of course, book a consultation with me. I love working with you all one-on-one and helping you to step into the higher potential of your life and for you to see what's in your way. Of course, there's something that we're all working on, and that's, what I tell people when I sit down with clients is that I'm just helping you to get closer to the goals that you set up for this lifetime. So also, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. Please follow me. For those who are on my live feed that I'm going to see tomorrow for my Astrology of 2020 event. I'm really excited to meet some of you all in person, especially those who are my clients. And then for those who are wondering if there's going to be an Astrology of 2020 event for those who aren't in New York, I am doing a webinar on January 2nd. Information will come out in the near future about that. We've got eclipses coming up. Got eclipses on the 26th of December, the 10th of January. So we're kind of going into another eclipse season, FYI. So lots going on. Thank you. More birthday wishes. And also, I'm happy to help you all who are students. I'm also a self-taught astrologer, so I try to share what I've learned in my time of educating myself and working with clients over the last 8 years. So thank you all for joining me tonight for this weekly check-in, and I hope to see you all next week, and we'll be fresh off of celebrating my birthday. So until then, have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye.